Before we moved here, I looked at whether there were food co-ops or anything like that in the area, and I thought I'd found something that said you could take spare produce in and they would sort it and share it out. So not a food bank, but somewhere where people could buy your spare produce. By the time we got here, if I had found it, it had disappeared or was no longer functioning. So I spent quite a long time trying to work out if I could produce more vegetables than I needed for our family. How was I going to then get them out to other people? And then I learnt about CSA models and of various different types, and spent about a year looking quite in depth at how that might work for us and what the legal setup was and all that sort of thing. And then spent a bit more time getting the soil to the point where it would actually grow enough food, not just for us, but to share it with other people in the community. And so last year I then did a real micro-CSA with just 7 members, and that worked really well, and I was kind of growing enough. Well, actually the food boxes were huge by the end of the year, but I felt like I was growing enough to really offer good value, and it was small enough to be able to make a really good connection with the people who were having their vegetables from us, not just in a here you are, you can buy this, but so they really understood what it was that I was trying to do here in terms of working with the land, working with the soil, and working seasonally, and trying to get the best from the environment and put the best back in that I could into this microclimate here, and that worked really well. So this year I decided I would increase it to 20 shares, and it's been interesting because the ground will grow that much. The thing I find hardest is for me to know that I'm capable of doing that. So early on in the year I go through this panic of I'm not going to have enough veg, and almost every week as I start getting the veg boxes together, I look at the garden and think, well, there's not enough there to do all of that, and of course once you start harvesting there's actually plenty, and I don't know what all the fuss was about, but I do it every week. So it's a satisfying thing to do. It's a really there's a sense of pride of being able to say, I've produced this, I've grown this, I've nurtured the land, which when we moved here was in appalling condition, to make it healthy enough to grow all these veg. And that's a really nice feeling. It's like a weekly affirmation of what we're doing is the right thing. And the feedback I'm getting from members is that they're really enjoying the really wide variety, and knowing that everything has just been harvested, and I don't harvest anything more than, actually that's a lie, I don't harvest almost anything earlier than 24 hours except for cucumbers, which if I don't harvest them on time end up as beasties and having to go into the house. I do a minimum of 7 different types of veg going into the veg boxes each week. I try to have 9 if I can. That feels good. And we set up this area to do the veg boxes in, and I'm constantly dropping things on the floor, but anything that goes on the floor stays on the floor, and then it all gets swept up and returned to the compost heap. So it feels like it's kind of quite a closed system, that any spare veg, any leaves, any vegetation just goes straight back into the soil, so nothing is wasted in this system, and that feels good too. And as as we've developed more and more spaces and allowed more to just grow wild, it's been really evident for us how much more wildlife is appearing. And as more wildlife is appearing, particularly as the birds are appearing, we seem to be having fewer and fewer pest issues with pests attacking our crops. So it just all keeps getting better and better. Would I do this again? Yes, I would. I would do a CSA again. I would, without a doubt, look at working in a regenerative way in the garden. And it's not a huge space we've got. We're on 0.8 acres, and the vegetable garden and food forest is probably around half an acre, maybe a little bit more. But it's producing, it's producing a really good amount of food. 2 years ago, I had 1,000 kilos of food for our family's use. I didn't even weigh. I didn't weigh it all last year, but it was considerably more than that. So by growing intensively and really nurturing the soil as we go, it's paying us back tenfold.